If you are a fan of softball, you are going to love the Fastpitch TV show. From softballjunk.com, we're bringing you more softball than anyone on the planet. Sit back and get ready. Here's the Fastpitch TV show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fastpitch TV show. I'm your host, Gary Leland, and I upload new episodes of this show on the 1st and 15th of every month. So make sure you come back for future episodes and see what we have coming. Now this week I have an interview with Olympic pitching great Jennie Finch. And I want to thank Mizuno Sports for setting up this interview. They set it up for me. But before we start the interview, please watch a short video about my softball magazine, which you can find at fastpitchmagazine.com.
Oops, sorry. I was reading this month's issue of the Fastpitch magazine. What? You're not familiar with the Fastpitch magazine? Watch this. You are going to love it. Looks great, right? Want to find more about the #1 coaching tool on the internet? Go to fastpitchmagazine.com today.
Well, Jennie, thanks for joining me again. This is becoming a yearly thing here. It's our 3rd year in a row, and I really appreciate you coming in. And anything exciting you want to tell us, or anything exciting happening, or any camps coming up soon you want to tell us about before we get into this?
Yeah, lots on the horizon. We're excited for a big 2014. We have our camps aren't all posted out yet, but look for those on my website, jenniefinch.com, for our next year's camps, and just raising my 3 beautiful children, and a lot of speaking engagements, camps, clinics, just a lot of opportunity to hopefully get out there and inspire and encourage others.
Well, you're a pretty busy girl, and you're busy this weekend for sure, and I appreciate you taking this time to come see me. Now, what I've done is I've got all my Facebook followers. I said, send me your questions, and I picked the top 10. We did this last year, and we had a lot of good questions that I wouldn't have come up with. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here's the first one. This is from Amanda. Okay, Amanda wants to go, how many pitches and what ones should you have as a freshman in high school?
You know, it's so hard to put a definitive answer on that. I think, for me, I like to have pitchers start out early with pitches if they're throwing them the safe way. And that's with infinite emphasis on that. Make sure they are throwing it safely and correctly. And if they are so, then you can teach them all of those pitches and get them started early just so they can start building that muscle memory. And obviously they're not going to have a drop ball that breaks and falls off the table, but they're just starting to train their body and their mind, and just implanting that in their heads and getting them to focus on those things. And I think hitting spots at a young age is really important. But as a freshman, I always go back, change-up is so important. Baseball, softball, you want to keep the hitter off balance. So change-up is key to mixing up speeds. And, you don't have to have the best pitches, but a lot of times just hitting those locations and spots. But it's always great to have a drop ball. And I always say don't just throw a drop ball, make sure you're throwing an inside or outside drop ball. So then that adds another factor in there. You want to make it as tough as you can on that hitter, and a rise ball, of course, and then just always changing the eye level of the hitter, and definitely messing with their timing is always important as a pitcher.
I'm sure. Now, I've heard a question. One of the things you talk about, this is a girl who's a freshman in high school. We're talking about a drop ball. But I've heard pros and cons as to what age a kid should start working on the drop ball. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or?
Well, I teach the peel drop, so that's the safe way to throw the drop. When that elbow gets away from your body, there's 30% added pressure on that elbow, and so that puts a lot of pressure on that elbow. And if you're throwing that turnover drop at a young age, that can be unsafe and cause issues down the line. So the peel drop, though, is perfectly safe. That elbow stays nice and tight, and we teach girls right away. Your fastball with super spin becomes your drop ball, and then that's your peel drop ball. You focus on spinning the balls off those first 2 fingers, and you always want that 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock rotation.
Cool. Okay, the next one here, she didn't leave her name, but when does it make sense for a girl to play up in age? I don't think it is smart until close to 14 under. What's your thoughts?
It's so hard. Again, there's so many factors that go into it. I don't think I can say a certain age, but I think it's so important for kids to succeed. And if you're constantly trying to play catch up and hang with the big dogs, you're failing a lot. Our sport is a game of failure already. So my dad always says to parents who, he's a pitching coach and has been my pitching coach since I was 11, he always says, if they can be the best kid on the team, let them experience that. And then obviously the challenge has to come later on. But you don't get that opportunity very often. And confidence is such a huge part of this game and in life in general. So I think it's good if you are succeeding, but at the same time you have to be challenged. And if you're surrounded by great athletes, you're going to become better as well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% though on the getting to play. And because my daughter, for instance, because of her birthday, was always the youngest kid on the team. And back in maybe 2000 or something, ASA changed the age. Mm-hmm. And she went to being the oldest kid. And what a difference it made. Got all the playing time she wanted. Really makes a big difference because you already fail enough, like you said. Why do you want to put yourself in a situation failing a lot more?
Yes, for
okay,
sure.
This one is from Caesar. He wants to know, as a Christian, what helped you deal with failures and not giving up?
As a believer, I know that Jesus Christ has a plan, and it's not going to be my plan, and it's not always succeeding. And looking back, it's amazing to see how God works in mysterious ways, and not always good ways, rough ways, but those rough times and those rough patches and those slumps and all of those things that I went through are, looking back, were such incredible life lessons for me, not only to shape and build me as an athlete, but most importantly, my character as a person. And so I think he allows failure and he allows struggle. He doesn't promise us, no struggles and no failure. But he always promises, I think, to be there with us and to carry us through those rough times. And we always have hope in him. And I started reciting Philippians 4:13 in my head before every single pitch. And that was in college. And it was for me just saying, okay, God, I've done everything in my power. Now it's your will. And ultimately, as people, all we could do is give our best. And ultimately what's going to happen is going to happen. But we can, if you can look yourself in the mirror at night and smile knowing you gave everything you had, then that's all that you can ask of yourself, and anybody else can ask of you as well.
Everything that, and I'm sorry, but I'm just going on what you said because it's so true. Everything that has happened to me in my life, my 60 years that I thought was so bad at the time, that down the road, I'm going, man, that might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. Even though when it happened, I thought it was the end of everything. So yeah, you're right. Sure. You don't know when it happens what the reason is, but later you find out.
Right. And one of those big moments, I think, going back my sophomore year, I was excited. I was working hard. Freshman year, I was kind of just getting my feet wet of college softball in Arizona and understanding it and being on my own for the first time. And my sophomore year, I wanted to earn that ball in my hand when we got to the College World Series. I wanted my teammates to want the ball in my hand when I got there, and that was my mission. And we headed down to ASU, and Coach Kendra was like, Finch, you got the ball, and I was pumped because I knew this was the beginning. This was a big game, in-state rivalry against ASU. Well, I came up short, gave up a home run in the 7th inning, and we lost. It was a 38-game winning streak, I think, we had against ASU. I mean, we didn't lose to ASU. We were at University of Arizona softball. We won, and I was devastated. I was crushed. I let the tradition of this program down. Coach Candrea, all the Arizona fans, in the state here, I lost that big record and tradition of Arizona softball against ASU. And I remember I buried my head in my dad's chest before I got on the bus real quick. And, I said, Dad, I never want to feel this feeling again. I never want to lose again. And it was like 8 years ago. College had already passed, and he was like, hey, Jennie, do you remember that loss to ASU? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, why are you of course, you of all people would bring up a loss after I've been in the Olympics and all these great things, And he said, did you know that was the beginning of your 60-game consecutive winning streak in college? And I had no idea. And looking back, that was probably my lowest point of my career so far at that point, was losing to ASU. But yet the next game was the beginning of a streak that, still stands today.
Well, so that's pretty good.
You never know what the next game's going to bring. And I always say that's the best thing about this game. You can go 0 for 40, but, you get to that championship game and you get that winning hit. Are you thinking about the 40, those 40 last at bats? You're not. It's one swing, one pitch. You can change it.
Exactly. That's great. Okay, this is from Katie, a 10 and under pitcher. She lets me know. When you are playing and there are a lot of people watching, what do you do to stay focused on your mechanics?
When I'm in the game, it's not so much mechanics. It's more of just trusting my teammates, trusting myself, trusting my preparation that we've put in to get there. And when you're in the game, it's go mode. And there's going to be times where you're tweaking things, but when you're in that game mode, you just want to think about that one next pitch. And so for me, I know it takes a lot of pressure off myself by me talking with my teammates and, hey, here we are together, talking to my third baseman, talking to my first baseman, and not overlooking that next pitch. So one pitch at a time. And if there are mechanical issues, then, you think about that, and then it's deep breath. I like to visualize before each pitch as well. And a lot of things too, it's just on feeling, and it's all about repetition. This game is a game of repetition, and it's like magic when it clicks, when you tell yourself to do something and you do it, and then you lose it like that, and then the game in life humbles you, and then you keep working and it goes back. And it's just, I think for me, it's taking it one pitch at a time and having a goal and a purpose with every single pitch that I throw.
One pitch at a time, one day at a time, whatever it takes to make it through.
That's right.
Okay, this is a great question here from Sassy. I'd like to ask Jennie if she ever struggled as a pitcher and if she ever cried. And if she did, how did she stop getting down and out?
Well, Sassy, there's been several struggles and several tears that have been shed throughout my career. But like I said, it's helped build and shape who I am today. And, all of those were life lessons, tough times dealing with mean teammates or mean parents or bad coaches. I always tell young athletes I sometimes learn the most. Looking back, I had learned the most from the bad coaches, really. How not to act, how not to coach, how not to treat people. So I always say no matter what situation you're faced with, how bad it is, you can always walk away and learn, and you can always rise above it. And this game, like I said, it'll humble you pretty quick. It's a game of failure, and so everybody would play if it was easy, and everyone's not playing because it is so tough. But it's a matter of, keep plugging away, keep working hard, believing in yourself, and it is a team sport, and there's nothing better than being out there, having a ball in your hand, playing the game that you love, and ultimately that's what it comes down to, is having fun, enjoying it.
That's number one, because like you said, a game of failure. Batting 300 is great, and that means you got out 7 times out of 10. So, yeah, for sure. Okay, this is a long one. We condense this here, and that is too long. I don't want to read that. Okay, my name is Shelby, and I've always wondered, how do you keep your hair so pretty while you work so hard on the field?
Oh, goodness. I'm usually wearing a glitter headband of mine that says Dream and Believe on the back. And
they can buy those on your website.
They can, yes. And for me, it didn't slip off my head. It kept my bangs right where I wanted to, and then hairspray, and, ultimately it is what it is. But I think headband and hairspray are my two.
In case you can't tell, a lot of these are coming from kids, which I tried to get on this one.
It's funny. They always ask about the good, the important stuff, the hair and all of those other things.
Okay. What is a good way to determine the amount of pitches I should throw during a 3-day tournament?
I've never been one on pitch count. I think if you are throwing with safe mechanics, you have to go kind of by feeling and, obviously by what the output is and how your body's feeling, how your arm's feeling. And if you're out of gas, you're out of gas, and I think it's so important to take days off because you need that rest and recovery time. There's a lot of stress and tension put on your muscles, and those muscle fibers need to strengthen back up after you use them, especially, on a long 3-day weekend. So, I don't think there's a limit. I think I can look at a pitcher and say if I would want her to throw a couple games or cut her off immediately because of her unsafe mechanic. So I think, safety is the key. Make sure they're throwing properly and the right and the safe way when they go out there and take the field. Because, we're hearing of biceps being torn, Tommy John surgeries, rotator cuffs. With my dad having the Finch windmill, a shoulder exerciser. I mean, it's incredible what we're seeing now. Injuries in our game because of young pitchers and not throwing safely out there on the mound.
And, I did maybe 10 shows 2 weeks ago with Dr. Werner, and one of her shows she wanted to do the most popular questions she's asked. She wanted to make shows so she could just send people there. Instead of typing go to this page and watch what I had to say on it. And that's almost the exact thing. You got to take time off. You can't do it every day. You got to let your muscles heal.
Right. And so many times pitchers say, I throw every day. Well, I'm like, if you throw every day, eventually it's going to get weak and something's going to break. And so it is so important. On the national team, we called it R&R, which we didn't hear very often. But when we heard our strength coach say R&R, we were pretty pumped because that was all about rest and recovery, and that means we didn't have to do too much for the next couple hours or half day or whatever it was that we did get off. But it's crucial, and Dr. Warner has played a huge role in my career, and I think keeping me safe and showing me how to throw and how to throw efficiently. And, I credit a lot to her, and I'm so grateful for her, because it's not just, the theories that I teach or my dad teaches. It's medically proven, and the science is there, which that's Dr. Warner. It's reasons and stresses of why we throw the way we throw and why we teach and why we throw different pitches like we do.
Right, yeah, she is so smart, too.
Oh, she's brilliant. I mean, she's done over 300 studies on the underhand windmill pitch, and I think last we looked, the next person in line had done 8. And so as far as research and the database that she has, it's unmatchable.
We're putting out a show every week right now, and for you guys, if you go to fastpitchchat.com, you can watch all our shows. I just want to get that in there because they're all there for people to watch.
Right.
Okay, the next one is, which is more important to make a good pitcher, location or the number of rotations on the ball?
Location, spin, speed, I think all three become a factor. I think it's so important to be able to try to throw as hard as you can and maximizing the spin on the ball. I don't think, especially at a young age, you never want to slow down to throw, because I feel like eventually there's going to be people passing you up. So you always want to push your body to the max and then make yourself be able to spin it at that speed. And that's where it all comes from, preparation. And one thing you'll hear me say over and over at my camps or clinics or speaking engagements, whatever it is, it's practice like it's competition, and then you compete like it's practice. But I think that's when young players really see their game rise to that next level. It's when their practices are like competition, and there's no separation there. And of course, their adrenaline, the butterflies, you don't have that so much in practice. You want to fake yourself out and try to get them there, because you want to be as close to that game mentality as you can when you step on that field every single day, whether it's practice or in your backyard or down the street with your dad or whatever it is. You want to make sure that you're practicing 100%. And then when you get on the field, you've done it every single day. There's not, and you're not out practicing at 80% and then try to go at 100% when the game goes, because your muscle memory, your timing, everything will be off.
That's a good saying. Yeah, I like that. Okay, the next one. What is the best advice you could provide if I really want to play at college level?
Best advice, I think, find your gifts, run with it. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. And Lisa Fernandez, one of my idols growing up, she always said, make your weaknesses your strengths. And I think that is so true. Try to be well-rounded, be as diverse as you can, play as many positions as you can. The more you know about the game, the better off you'll be as a player out there, and have a greater chance to play at that college level versus just playing one position. You never know what window of opportunity is going to be there and what position that will be. But I think it's all about practice and hard work. And I think, so many young girls, they have that dream of going to this one school, and if that doesn't go through, then they get all bummed and they end up quitting. And it's like, there's so many places to play out there. And I do camps and clinics all over the country, and we have, junior college coaches come out to Division 3, 2, 1. There's so many different levels. If you want it bad enough, there's a place for you to play. You may have to travel far. You may have to go to, a different program, or work hard, contacting those coaches. But there's so much opportunity to play at that next level if you want it bad enough, and if you're willing. But it's all about hard work and pushing yourself and going for that goal and going for that dream.
If you really want to play, you can play. Because I've seen girls that I didn't think had a shot, talent-wise, and they ended up on teams in college.
Right.
So if you want to play, there is a spot for you somewhere. It might not be your number one pick, but you can play college ball.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, for the most part, there's always going to be those, that aren't. But like you said, I think there's
Well, then they didn't really want to if they weren't able to make it there.
There's a place if you want it bad enough.
And this is the last one. And this one is there any way you would consider playing in the Olympics if softball is reinstated? Paige, your biggest fan, number 27, wants to know.
Well, Paige, I don't think you would want me to represent our country if we were to get back in, because I would be quite old and not in the best shape that I could be, that's for sure. So there's going to be some young stars behind me that will be carrying that torch and hopefully playing back in the Olympics. Fingers crossed that we'll get reinstated for 2020, and I'll be there some way, somehow, whether it's, I don't know, some throwing BP. I told Julie with USA Softball, I said, hey, if you need a batting practice pitcher, I'll be there. Whatever you need, I know what it's like to be there, and I'd love to get back. And hopefully our sport will be back where it belongs, and I'll be the biggest cheerleader there, cheering for our sport and the amazing women that will represent us.
Well, I'll be there with you, hopefully. I think I got enough street cred with Fastpitch TV now. I could even get press passes.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. I always do, and I know you had a busy schedule, so thanks a lot. And those of you, make sure you go to Jennie. Is it just JennieFinch.com?
JennieFinch.com.
And check out her gear. And you've got a lot of new gear on there, too, I
We do,
noticed.
yeah. Lots of fun softball stuff, headbands, necklaces, bracelets, T-shirts.
And they can find out about your camps there, too, right?
They can, yes. JennieFinch.com, and then JennieFinchStore.com is our store.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Looking for a softball bat? Do you want to save $30? SoftballJunk.com is offering an additional $30 discount on all regular price bats on the website. That's right, $30 discount. Just text the word Fastpitch to 555-888 and Gary will send you a discount code good for $30 off your next softball bat at SoftballJunk.com. FYI, that code's also good at the Arlington, Texas store. This show is a member of the Fastpitch TV network. See all of our shows and blogs at www.fastpitch.tv.